Hello friends, my name is John, and I'm going to show you where the sour cherries set their fruit. So they set their fruit on last year's growth, so 1 year wood. So these little branches grew out last year. These are all flower clusters. They haven't opened yet, but these are all flower clusters right there. They're kind of swollen, and you can kind of tell there's a flower inside of that. They're little round ball shaped clusters. So those are all flowers. And then if you go here, these sharp ones are leaves or branches right there. And this is a flower one. These are all flower clusters. And there's a leaf one, sharp one. So this is last year's growth on the sour cherry. And it has mostly flower clusters, especially the short ones, the short branches right there. Flower clusters, short branches. So at the bases of them, there's these little spurs that have a lot more flowers on them. They're more, I guess, congregated right there at the base of the branch. And then along the whole branch, there's flowers. And then at the base of all branches, there's a whole bunch of flowers. But then along the new growth, there's also flowers. That's sour cherry. That's how sour cherries produce their flowers, is on last year's growth. So this piece grew out last year. The way you know that, it has a nominal bud and it goes over to a darker color. So these are much shinier exterior of the bark. And then you go over, that's second year wood, and it produces, last year it produced these little spurs that produce flower clusters on as well. And then you go to third year wood, it's bare, it's a dry piece. And then fourth year, nothing. And older wood has nothing unless there's new growth that comes out, and that would have fruit, like this little branch that came out right there, and it has flower clusters on it. So anything that grows out brand new last year, so last year 1-year-old wood, has flower clusters on them. You can see right there, these will all be potential cherries, a whole bunch of them. So anything that grew out last year is setting flowers and potential fruit if it gets pollinated. So the idea for pruning these is to do a lot of pruning and leave stubs like this. Leave branches that have stubs, and you can see a brand new bud right there. That's a new branch that's developing. So because it's going to be a new branch, it's going to have fruit on it. So there's going to be more buds that are going to come out of this. So anywhere where you have a branch and it's lower, you leave a stub on it, and it grows out new branches. And then when these branches grow out, you can remove this one if you need to lower the height of the tree. So this limb can be removed, but you can also remove it, at a higher stump. So this will start producing new branches, and this one gets too big. These branches get too big. You can cut this one back again and let these grow. So you're kind of replacing your largest branches every year. Replace your largest branch and leave the smaller branches and then stubs, and they produce new branches that you leave next year, and you remove the old ones. So every single year you remove a couple of big branches, And then within 5-6 years, you end up replacing almost all the older fruiting wood. That way the tree can be manageable off the ground. So this is a sour cherry. And I have another one, slightly different variety. So this is a sour cherry. It's a vase shape, open center. And then I have this one. It's a different variety, but the same thing. This is last year's growth and flowers. Last year's growth and a bunch of flowers. It's hard to zoom in. So all these have flowers on last year's growth. So last year's branch right there, and flower clusters. Last year's branch, flower clusters. So that's your sour cherry. All your new growth, you can kind of see against the sky, potentially a whole bunch of flowers. And they left the center open. I pruned back heavier all the older, larger branches, and then hoping to get a bunch of fresh regrowth this year, and then cut back some of the older, thicker branches to be replaced by the new ones, so they can produce fruit. Because once the branch here produces fruit, it will no longer produce fruit on this branch unless it grows any new branches on it. So the idea is to replace older spent wood for new growth that will produce fruit and keep the tree lower. By removing thicker branches, we regenerate growth with new shoots that will produce fruit for next year. So anything that will grow out this year is next year's fruiting wood. My name is John. These are sour cherries. They produce their fruit on last year's growth, or new growth that happened this year will produce fruit for next year. So the idea is to regenerate your branches, cut your older, thicker branches out. For an example, this branch can go away next year. I can cut it at a high stump. It'll grow up new branches here, and this one will replace it meanwhile. And then when this one takes over, you can get rid of this one and cut it at a higher stump, and it'll produce new fruiting wood. So this year we'll collect the fruits, potentially what sets here and grows out, and then we can cut it back for regrowth for next year and let this one take over for the time being. My name is John. Thank you for watching my videos. Go watch the next one.